I remember the exact moment something felt off. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. Just a quiet, nagging feeling in my chest as the water stretched endlessly around us. Too still, too empty, like it was waiting. If I had trusted that feeling, if I had just said something, maybe I wouldn't have ended up where I am now. But that's the thing about trust. It blinds you, especially when it comes to your own son. My name is Daniel, and for most of my life, I believed I had a good relationship with my son, Aaron. Not perfect. No relationship ever is, but solid. Built on years of shared routines, small traditions, and quiet understanding. After his mother passed away when he was just 12, it was just the two of us. I learned how to braid hair before I learned how to properly grieve. I packed his lunches, helped with homework, stayed up through fevers, and sat through every school event, even when he insisted it wasn't a big deal. We grew into something more than just father and son. We became a team. At least that's what I believed. Aaron changed as he got older. That's normal, I told myself. Teenagers pull away. They build their own lives. They get distant. But even then, he'd still come back around. A quick call. A short visit. Enough to remind me that I still mattered. So when he showed up at my door last month, smiling like he used to, really smiling, not that distracted half-smile. He'd developed over the years. It caught me off guard. "Hey, Dad," he said, like no time had passed at all. I remember just standing there for a second, taking him in. He looked older than I remembered. Tired, maybe. But there was something else, too. Something I couldn't quite place. Still, I didn't question it. I stepped aside and let him in. We talked for hours that night. About everything and nothing. Work, life, old memories. He even laughed at one of my terrible jokes, the kind he used to groan at as a kid. It felt like getting a piece of my life back. Then, somewhere between dinner and the late-night silence, he brought it up. "We should go fishing," he said. I looked at him, surprised. "Fishing?" "Yeah," he shrugged. "Like we used to, just get away for a bit." That suggestion hit me harder than I expected. Fishing had been our thing. Early mornings, quiet lakes, cheap sandwiches wrapped in foil. It wasn't about catching anything. It was about being together. We hadn't done it in years. "You serious?" I asked. He nodded. "I think we both need it." There was a weight behind his words, something unspoken. But instead of questioning it, I leaned into it. "All right," I said. "Let's do it." We planned the trip for the following weekend. Aaron insisted on handling most of the details. He said he knew a good spot, somewhere remote, peaceful, far from crowds. I didn't argue. In fact, I was relieved. It felt like he was taking initiative, trying to rebuild something between us. Still, there were small things. Little moments that didn't quite sit right. Questions. Like how he avoided When I asked about work, his answers were vague. When I mentioned old friends, he'd change the subject. At one point, I caught him staring at me. Not in a normal way, more like he was studying me. Measuring something. "What?" I asked, half laughing. "Nothing," he said quickly, looking away. "Just thinking." I let it go. Because what else was I supposed to do? This was my son. The morning of the trip, he picked me up before sunrise. The air was cold, the kind that seeps into your bones. But there was something comforting about it. Familiar. We loaded the gear into the back of the truck, rods, bait, a small cooler. Aaron had even brought an extra jacket for me. "Just in case," he said. I smiled. "You always forget I'm tougher than I look." He didn't smile back. Instead, he just nodded and closed the tailgate. That should have been another sign. The drive was long. Longer than I expected. We passed the usual fishing spots I recognized, then kept going. The roads narrowed. The trees thickened, and eventually, even the signal on my phone disappeared. "Where exactly are we going?" I asked. "Trust me," he said. And I did. That's the part that keeps replaying in my mind. I trusted him. We reached the lake just as the sun began to rise. It was isolated. No cabins, no other boats. Just a wide stretch of dark water surrounded by dense forest. Beautiful, in a haunting kind of way. "Wow," I said, stepping out of the truck. "You weren't kidding about remote." Aaron nodded, already unloading the boat. It was a small motorboat, nothing fancy but sturdy enough. "You ready?" he asked. I hesitated for just a second. Something about the place felt too quiet, no birds, no distant sounds. just the faint ripple of water against the shore. But then Aaron looked at me, and for a brief moment I saw that kid again, the one who used to tug on my sleeve and beg me to cast his line. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready." We pushed off into the water, the boat cutting through the surface with a low hum. At first, it felt right. We talked a little, not much, just enough to fill the silence. But as we moved further from the shore, the conversation faded. Aaron focused on steering, his expression unreadable. I tried to shake the unease creeping in. "You picked a good spot," I said. "Yeah," he replied. "That's it?" I chuckled. "No secret story behind it?" He shook his head. "Just a place. Just a place." The way he said it, it lingered. We stopped near the center of the lake. Aaron cut the engine, and suddenly the silence became overwhelming. I reached for my rod, trying to settle into the rhythm I remembered. "This reminds me of that trip when you were 10, I said. "You dropped your sandwich in the water and blamed me for it." A small smile tugged at his lips. "You told me it built character." "It does," I said. Clearly worked. He didn't respond. Instead, he looked out across the water. For a long time, too long, minutes passed. Maybe more. I couldn't tell. The air felt heavier out there, like something was pressing down on us. "Aaron," I said slowly, "everything okay?" He didn't answer right away. Then finally he turned to me, and there was something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not anger, not sadness. Something colder, something distant. "You trust me, right?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. "Of course I do," I said. "You're my son." He nodded like he was confirming something to himself. Then he stood up, moving toward the motor. "Aaron?" I said, a faint unease tightening in my chest. He didn't look at me. He just placed his hand on the controls. And in that moment, right before the engine roared back to life, I realized something was about to go very, very wrong. The engine roared to life, shattering the silence. For a split second, I thought nothing of it. Maybe he wanted to reposition the boat, find a better spot, chase a different current. We'd done that 100 times before. But then Aaron didn't slow down. He didn't turn. He didn't say a word. The boat lurched forward, cutting across the water, and I felt it immediately. That same quiet, sinking feeling from earlier, only now it wasn't quiet anymore. "Aaron!" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "What are you doing?" No answer. He kept his eyes forward, hands tight on the controls. "Aaron," I said again, louder this time, "you're going the wrong way." That's when he spoke. I know. Just 2 words. Flat, empty. The distance between us suddenly felt enormous, even though he was only a few feet away. My grip tightened on the side of the boat. "Then where are you going?" He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding something in for a long time. "Somewhere I need to be," he said. The way he said it, calm, controlled, it didn't match the moment. It didn't match the situation. It didn't match him. "Then we'll go together," I said, forcing a small laugh. "That's kind of the point of this trip, isn't it?" For the first time, he glanced back at me. And there it was again, that look, cold, distant, resolved. "No," he said quietly. "Not this time." The boat didn't stop until we were farther than I had realized we'd gone before. The shoreline was barely visible now, just a thin, dark line against the horizon. Aaron finally pulled back on the throttle, letting the boat slow to a drift. The engine idled low. The silence crept back in, only now it felt heavier, more final. I swallowed, trying to piece together what was happening, trying to make it make sense. "This isn't funny anymore," I said. "If this is some kind of joke—" "It's not a joke," he interrupted. His voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. He turned the engine off completely. The sudden stillness rang in my ears. Then he moved, quickly, but not violently, stepping past me toward the back of the boat. "Aaron, what are you doing?" I asked, standing up now. He reached down and grabbed something. A bag, one I hadn't noticed before. He slung it over his shoulder, my chest. Tightened. "Why do you need a bag?" I said, my voice thinner than I wanted it to be. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped toward the edge of the boat and looked out at the water, scanning something I couldn't see. "There's a smaller shore not far from here," he finally said. "Hidden. You wouldn't know it unless someone showed you." My stomach dropped. "And," I pressed, "and I'm going there." The words landed like stones. A long, heavy silence stretched between us. I shook my head, trying to push away the thought forming in the back of my mind. "You're not making any sense," I said. "We came here together. We leave together. That's how this works." He turned to me again. And this time, there was something else in his eyes. Not just distance, conflict. "Dad," he started, but then stopped himself. That one word, Dad, hit harder than anything else he'd said so far. "Then explain it to me," I said, softer now. "Just explain what's going on." For a moment, I thought he would. I saw it in the way his shoulders shifted, in the way his grip on the bag loosened slightly. But then something closed off again, like a door slamming shut. "You weren't supposed to come this far," he said. My breath caught. What does that mean? "It means—" He hesitated. "It means I thought it would be easier." "Easier?" I repeated. "Easier for what?" He looked away. "That's the problem," he said under his breath. The air felt colder now. The kind of cold that doesn't come from the weather. "Aaron," I said carefully, "you're scaring me." That seemed to reach him. Just a little. He let out a shaky breath, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't plan this right," he admitted. My mind raced. "Plan what?" He looked back at me. And for the first time since this started, I saw something real, not coldness, not distance, guilt. "I thought I could just drop you off," he said. "Leave you somewhere safe, somewhere you could manage." "Manage?" I echoed, disbelief creeping into my voice. "Manage what, Aaron?" He gestured vaguely toward the endless water, the distant tree line. "Out here," he said. "You've handled worse. You always have." My heart pounded. "You're talking like you're leaving," I said slowly. He didn't respond. That was answer enough. "No," I said immediately, shaking my head. "No, we're not doing that. Whatever this is, we can talk about it. We can fix it. It's not that simple." "It never is," I shot back. "But we don't solve things by walking away from each other." He flinched slightly at that. Good. It meant he was still listening. "You came to my house," I continued, my voice steady but urgent. "You asked me to trust you, and I did. So don't stand there now and act like I'm some kind of problem. You can just leave behind." "I'm not." "Then what are you doing?" I demanded. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked down at the floor of the boat. Silence stretched again. Then finally, "I got into something," he said quietly. The words hung there. "What kind of something?" I asked. He shook his head. "It doesn't matter." "It does matter if it ends with you abandoning your own father in the middle of nowhere." "I'm not abandoning you," he said quickly, almost defensively. "There's land nearby, fresh water. You'll be fine for a while." "For a while?" I repeated, stunned. "And then what?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't have one, I took a step closer to him. He didn't move away. "Aaron," I said, softer now, "look at me." Slowly, he did. "You don't have to do this," I said. "Whatever you're dealing with, we deal with it together. That's what we've always done." His jaw tightened. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." "You can't," he said, almost a whisper. "Because if you did, you'd tell me not to go. And I can't afford that right now." The honesty in that statement hit like a punch. "So that's it?" I said. "You just leave? No explanation, no plan, nothing?" "I'll come back," he said quickly. But even he didn't sound convinced. A long pause settled between us. The water lapped gently against the sides of the boat. Somewhere in the distance, a bird called out. Life continuing, completely unaware of what was happening here. I studied my son's face. The same face I had known his entire life. And yet, it felt like I was looking at a stranger. "Do you remember?" I said quietly. "The first time we came fishing after your mom passed?" His expression shifted, just slightly. "You didn't want to go," I continued. "You said it felt wrong, like we were pretending everything was okay." He swallowed. "But we went anyway," I said. And we sat in silence for hours. Didn't catch a single thing. A faint, almost invisible smile flickered across his face. "And then," I added, "you looked at me and said, 'It's not the same, but it's something.'" His eyes dropped. "I remember," he said. "Yeah," I nodded. "Because we didn't leave each other behind. Even when it was hard, even when it didn't make sense." The words lingered. Heavy, important. For a moment, I thought I had reached him. I really did. His grip on the bag loosened. His shoulders sagged slightly. And then, the distant hum of another engine echoed across the water. Aaron's head snapped up. Everything about him changed in an instant. The hesitation, the guilt, the conflict, gone, replaced with urgency. "They're early," he muttered. My blood ran cold. "They?" I repeated. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned back to the motor. And this time, his hands didn't hesitate. "Aaron," I said sharply, "who's coming?" But he didn't look at me. He just said one thing. Quiet, rushed, and filled with something dangerously close to fear. "Stay where I leave you." And then the engine roared to life again.